Today, I want to talk about measuring your progress. Okay. And I think this is important because a lot of the times, as women, we get stuck in our heads and we think we're doing well when we really aren't, or we think we're doing bad when we really are. And we forget that measuring things are facts, and facts don't lie, and facts will tell us to keep doing things or to change. And so I think it's really important to bring back focus to, are we measuring? Are we keeping track? Now, there are three main ways to keep track along your weight loss journey. Okay. Now, there are countless others, thousands and thousands of other ways to measure your progress, which you should account for as well, because there's lots of non-scale victories. But there are three main ones that you should always be focusing on when you are in a weight loss phase, period. And that is, the number on the scale needs to be dropping. You need to see changes in pictures, and then you need to see your inches shrinking. Okay. Those are the three most important or biggest places that you're going to be able to draw motivation from and draw direction from. Because a lot of the times, the reason we don't have motivation is because we don't have direction. Right. And if we can get back direction, then we can at least decide what to do instead of sitting in our indecision and being overwhelmed or confused and making no decision at all. Now, as you go through your weight loss journey, these three main progress tools are used differently and to different degrees as you go through. So for an example, if you are in the beginning stages of your weight loss journey, the scale should be the main dictator for you, right? When you are starting a weight loss journey for probably almost 4 weeks in a row, you are going to drop a lot of weight. It's going to be water weight. It's going to be swelling and inflammation. It's going to be all the bloating, and it's going to be lots of fat because your body's ready. So the scale should be dropping a lot when you are on a journey for the first time or just restarting. If it is not, that does not mean you're building muscle and you should keep going. It means something is off and you need to tweak it. You need to tweak it, usually related to food. And so if this is the case, then you would look at the scale and you'd say, okay, something needs to change. Not, okay, I'm going to keep trying. Okay, this isn't working and I need to give up. Or, okay, I'm just putting on muscle and I'm still losing fat. Right? We say these things when we start saying these weird little sentences and justifications in our head when we jump on the scale and it says something we don't want, right? So in the beginning of your journey, you should be focusing on the scale, okay, as well as the other things as well, but the scale should be main priority because, I mean, you said you wanted to lose weight, so you got to lose weight, which is going to show up on the scale immediately. So the beginning of your journey, scale should be dropping fairly quickly, okay? Now in the middle of your journey, okay, so usually past a month into the middle of your journey, this is when inches would really come into play, right? Yes, you should be taking your inches at the beginning of your journey as well, but you're going to notice a lot more inches dropping and the scale slowing down a little bit, not a lot, but definitely slowing down just because you've gotten rid of the bloating and the inflammation and the water weight. So the scale in the middle of your journey, scale will still be going down, or at least it should be if you're doing the right things. And then inches kind of can become the priority, right? You're going to notice shrinking. Your body's going to be shrinking. Whereas the scale drops in the beginning, you might not physically notice it right away. In the middle of your journey, that's when you're going to physically feel smaller, okay? So inches will be the biggest and the thing to kind of pay attention for if you're looking for that big boost of motivation, because it'll show you the biggest change. And now near the tail end of your journey, you're getting close to your dream goal. You're feeling really, really good, and you're probably going to end your weight loss phase soon. That is when pictures will show the most difference, right? The scale, you won't have much left on the scale to lose, so that'll slow down. Inches wise, you'll be the size you want. You just won't be the composition you want yet. So then the inches won't change much near the end of your journey, but what you will notice is the lines and the curves and the shapes are going to start to show up. So that's why you want to take more pictures near the end of your journey. You still want them all the way through, but you're going to notice them drastically near the end because the scale might stay the same, the inches might stay the same, but then the way the muscles are looking is going to be different. And this will ebb and flow as you go through it. Now, I tell you this because we need to, number one, make sure that you always have different measuring tools, because 1, 2, or 3 will not work sometimes. They won't say what you want them to, whether that's because you messed up, because you're on the wrong thing, or maybe you just don't know why. But it's important to have as many measuring tools as possible, because the number one reason that you won't reach your goal is because you are expecting to be motivated the entire way of getting there. And so when motivation isn't there, we think that means it's a sign to stop, when really it's a sign to keep going. And if you had different measuring tools to show that you were on the right track, you could bear through it until you got the motivation back. So that's why I bring this up. Now, I want to take a moment and I want to really focus on the scale. Okay, I think especially recently over the last couple of years, the scale has gotten a really bad rap. I think it's like this demon all of a sudden. And I think what happened was, for so long, diet culture made us obsess over the scale, right? And we became like really obsessed with it. It was a really unhealthy relationship, a kind of a toxic relationship to the scale, especially when we plateau and we blame the scale. And every time we step on it, it puts us in a bad mood. But I think more recently, we've polarized on the complete other end, where we want nothing to do with the scale. Right? It's lying to you. It's the demon. It's not working. Muscle weighs more than fat, whatever we are hearing. And I think we've completely gone on the other side, where we don't even want to look at the scale or acknowledge that it has some importance. It's kind of like the anti-scale movement, if you guys have heard that, right? I'm sure you know somebody, maybe that's you, or maybe that's people in your life who are like, I never step on the scale. I don't own a scale, right? And like, oh no, nope, you definitely should. That one blows my mind. Maybe you were there. I was there at one point. I just did not, I thought I was elevated and healthy because I didn't own a scale, when really the reason I didn't keep a scale in my house is because I'd check it every second if it was there, and I'd be really depressed by the number, right? So it wasn't this smart decision not to have it. It was me avoiding it. So because we polarized, I think what it's done is it's changed our relationship with the scale in a different direction, and not in a good direction, right? Both of those examples are not good directions. So I don't think we fixed the scale problem. I think we fixed the scale problem by demonizing it, but now it's just the exact same problem on the other side of the spectrum. So I think if your goal is weight loss, if your goal is toning, if your goal is overall health, you have to cut the fat off your body, the excess fat. The only way to do that is to lose weight. And if you want to lose weight, then you have to pay attention to the scale. And if you are not fully accepting the importance of the scale, what I find is a lot of times women start their journey on the wrong foot. They are just starting on the wrong foot, right? They are starting with the scale not having an importance. And then what that does is it just sets them up for failure, right? Because if you're not measuring through the scale, what are you measuring with? What else are you going to get such a super clear number on? What else? Your BMI, that doesn't change very fast. Your body fat percentage, that's not super accurate unless it's done in a lab. Your inches, that's going to not change every single week. And pictures, you're not going to see a change every week, right? So you're missing out on one of the biggest motivators, and that is the scale, by not putting an importance on it in the beginning of your journey. And then obviously maintaining that importance throughout, because it's a great tool for that. But what I also think, and whether you're starting your journey or you're in it, I think this is the problem that the scale relationship has caused. We do not know how to interpret the data properly. So the data, meaning the numbers the scale says to us. Because we are kind of having this unoptimal relationship with the scale, whether you're coming from the side of being obsessed with it or trying to avoid it at all costs, you now don't understand the number. You don't understand where it's coming from and why it's doing what it's doing. And when you don't understand that, you're taking a shot in the dark of what to do next to fix it, right? Our mind goes wild with all the things we think we should do or think we should stop in order to change that number. But very rarely do we ever make that decision from a clear, level-headed space, right? Usually when we decide to do things in terms of health and weight loss, it's because we're in an emotional state, right? We either hated the number on the scale and we're like, no, this needs to change. Or we're feeling really good and we're really high on ourselves. We're like, yeah, I'm really good. I'll keep doing this, right? And if emotion is leading the action, we don't know logically if that was the right reaction, right? If that was the right action, you just don't know where it's coming from. So I think if we are to kind of find that balance in the middle with the scale, it would be learning how to interpret the data better. So the data doesn't have control over us. It's just simply that, a number that informs us to change or not, pivot or not, tweak or not. That's what this journey is. It is not, I'm going to start something and lose weight every single step of the way. Every week I'm going to go down on the scale. Every day I'm going to go down on the scale. That's not what happens. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. That just never happens that way. And so what you need to be prepared for is understanding where the number is coming from, because then you can understand what caused it and not feel helpless to change it. A lot of the times we get fed up on our weight loss journey because we just don't know why it's not working. And so let me give you a little bit of light into the scale world, okay? So first things first, your weight, if you weigh yourself every day, it will not go down every day. That's rule number one. If it was that easy, we'd all have 6 packs in a couple months. So it will never go down every single day, okay? Things that affect the scale number. Did you have a good sleep? If the answer is no, then you should be prepared to see a heavier weight on the scale. That's it. Not by 5 pounds, but maybe a couple ounces. If you are stressed, you should be prepared to see the number usually not go down, right? Not necessarily go up, but usually stress causes you to hold on to a little bit more weight, to like not lose it as fast. So stress will impact that. If you drank water late, that will still be in you in the morning, and that could affect weighing in heavier. Same thing if you ate late at night, okay? If you are constipated or haven't had a bowel movement yet, that will also potentially make you plateau and or gain weight, right, the next day. If you had a slip up or a free meal where you went out and you had a good time and weren't tracking any of your food or anything like that, you can definitely expect to go up the next day and expect the next 2 to 3 days to level out. You won't get back to your normal weight for that time. And so there's like these ups and downs with the scale. But if you know this, you don't get shocked and you don't get angry at yourself. Like, what the hell is going on? You're like, oh no, that makes sense. And then you can predict. And when you can educationally predict, we can hold out. And when you can hold out, you don't burn out and you continue on your journey, right? Now, maybe the intensity of that continuation, of course, changes because that's what motivation does, goes up and down, but your journey continues instead of stops completely, okay? So that's kind of a little bit of the scale. So I would definitely urge you to find out where you are with your relationship. Are you like really obsessed or really polarized and against it? Find that middle ground. And also learn your fluctuations, okay? Track your weight. Pay attention to what would have caused it to go up or go down. The more you track, the more data you have, the more calm you're going to be, the longer you're going to last in this thing. Because weight loss is a long-term game. It doesn't take long-term to lose all the weight, but it does take long-term to lose the habits, change the mindset, and learn how to keep it up. Because we become really good at losing weight, not very good at keeping it up. And another thing that I noticed too is, let's say, I mean, I talk to so many women all the time. Let's say I'm talking to a woman and she's 200 pounds. And I ask her, what's her goal? So she'll say, this is what I hear all the time. She'll say something like, I'm 200 pounds. Scale's not really important to me. I just want to look and feel good, right? Who said that before? Or who's heard somebody say that before, right? Now, it's a great goal. Absolutely, you should want to feel good. Absolutely, you should want to look good. But I can tell you, if you're 200 pounds, you're not going to look and feel good at 200 pounds. If you're 190 pounds, you're not going to look and feel your best at 190. Same at 180, and so on and so forth. So there is a number in which you will look and feel your best. So let's not pretend like this is just up in the air and you could feel good with where you're at. Otherwise, you wouldn't have reached out in the first place, right? So it's important to put a number to it. And that takes me to the next thing I hear a lot of. So let's say I've got the same woman and she's 200 pounds and I ask her goal. And she says, well, I'd love to see 180, but I'd be happy with 190. Who's done something like that or heard something like that before, right? So here's the problem with that. Number one, you've just completely discredited your first goal and basically said, I'm never going to get there by completely brushing over it. And number two, I can tell you, after coaching thousands of women and watching their bodies change and tracking how they lose weight, I can tell you, you probably have an unexpected amount of fat on your body, an unfathomable amount of fat left on your body, because it sticks to our organs too. And so I can almost guarantee it, that number you think is your goal, take 10 pounds off, take 20 pounds off. You're carrying more fat than you realize. And in fact, I just had a client today. She just reached her 30 pounds lost mark today. And she started out not even wanting to lose 20 pounds. She thought she'd be happy with about 15 pounds. Then she reached it and she's like, oh, I thought I looked better. I want to keep going. And she reached her 30. And guess what we were doing now? Now we're going to go for 40. That is how crazy this journey is. It always changes. So if you're coming in with a closed mindset of, I want to lose 20 pounds, right? Great goal. That's a start. But I would challenge you to look beyond that. Are you capable of more? Are there other things you want to achieve, right? We have to really expand our mind if you want this time to be different. I'm a big believer in setting a goal that is unrealistic to your mind. Because only then, if you shoot for the stars or you shoot for the moon, you'll land along the stars, right? So let's say you only think you have 20 pounds to lose. And you say you're going to lose 40 pounds. Well, guess what? Losing those 20 pounds becomes a lot more realistic and a lot less overwhelming when you realize you got 40 to lose. It's a trick. Overshoot. Because even if you miss, you're still going to reach the first goal you had in your mind. And so go big or go home. Okay, no more settling. I'd settle for 10 pounds. No, why? Why? You are capable. You are capable of going back or having a body you've never had before. You are capable of going back and being slimmer and more toned than you've ever been before. I don't care what medical conditions you have. I don't care what age you are. I don't care if you're in menopause. I don't care if you have injuries. I promise you, don't get offended by those statements. Get inspired by those statements. Be empowered by those statements. I've helped 70-year-old women be the strongest and leanest they've ever been. I've helped moms of 5 get lower than they were pre-babies. It's doable. There's somebody in your position right now with the potentially the same excuses and the same obstacles, and they've done it or they're doing it. You can too. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying you're going to always want to do it. But I'm saying you can. So no more I'd be happy with blank. No more I'd settle for blank. No more I'll never get back to that. No more. How is that serving you? How is that serving you? Why do we have problems for every solution? Nothing's possible then. And you're kind of making it an uphill battle for yourself. And so what I'd like you to do as an inspiration from this call is I'd like you to set your numbers in stone. Do not be wishy-washy with your goals. You go big or you go home. When it comes to health and weight loss, this is the most noble cause you could ever embark on. There is nothing more important than your health. Not your kids' health, not your spouse's health, because if you are not healthy, you can't help anybody. This is important. So do not be wishy-washy with your goal and your numbers. Set it, be ballsy, set it in stone, go big or go home, and don't just dip your toe into your goal. You have to go fully in or don't even bother because you're about to waste all this energy and time, maybe getting somewhere and then getting right back to where you started. And that is the most dangerous place to be. If you were listening to this and you were somebody who loses gains, that is the most dangerous place to stay. Because over time, you will start to think there's something wrong with your body or there is something wrong with you, and you're going to start to settle and be like, maybe this is just as good as it's going to get. And there's no such thing. Good as it gets is literally sky's the limit. Whatever you can imagine. You want an 8-pack? Go for it. Go for it. If you want toned arms that you've never had, you want to be comfortable in a bikini without a cover-up, if you want to feel good naked, if you want to wear crop tops, I don't know, whatever. But you can. Why are you putting obstacles before you've even tried? Just go big or go home with your goals and set them in stone. Do not be wishy-washy. If you would love to be 120 pounds and right now you're 220 pounds, say it. We're just afraid to say it because we're afraid we're not going to reach it. But I can guarantee one way you'll never reach it, by never saying it out loud, or by thinking of problems and obstacles and roadblocks before they've even shown up. You don't know. You've never been who you are at this very second in your life. And every new day, you're a new person. And every day, you can rewrite what story you want to tell about who you were that day. And that starts with setting your goal in stone and go bigger than you have ever thought. And keep track of your progress, objective track, so you can make sure you know where your efforts should be focused, you know where your energy should, and you shouldn't be wasting time worrying, being anxious, confused, or overwhelmed.